everyone, and welcome to Bedford. Nick and Esther, Steve Beals with you. It's FNL Rewind presented by Beals Insurance. And over the next 60-plus, 4 interviews as we get you set for the upcoming tournament. The open-style 16-team tournament is here and comes your way this weekend. We've got Rob Sturgis, our first guest, head coach of Memorial. He joins us in about 15 minutes or so. Dante Lorendi of Nashua North at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk again with Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph at 5:45. And then a little bonus time today. Nick Hammond of Goffstown will join us as soon as he gets off the practice field at 6 o'clock. So Coach Sturgis, Coach Lorendi, Tom King, Coach Hammond. That's the rundown, all brought to you by Beals Insurance. Steve, I suppose we will begin with a recap of the Week 5 scores, the final week of a truncated regular season in the NHIAA. You and I were at a highly anticipated matchup between Londonderry, the defending champion, and Nashua North, who's right now the favorite to win in 2020. And after hanging around for a bit in the first half, North came alive in that second quarter, put up 20 points to take a 20-0 halftime lead, extended that lead by maximizing some Lancer turnovers, and walked away off their home field with a 36-7 impressive win to wrap up the second straight unbeaten regular season for Coach Lorendi's Titans.
He's got those guys going, and there was a opportunity we talked about during the live broadcast on Friday night. Actually, I think we picked two good games, even though the spreads were wide on both the Friday and Saturday games that we did. I thought they were interesting games to call, and even though we knew the outcome, certainly in the Saturday game, but as far as Londonderry is concerned, they came out, they had their opportunities, and they started to take the momentum away from Nashua North. And and Londonderry is a solid team, and Coach Lozon was really coaching, every bit that he had to work that team down the field. And I just watched the Nashua players just dig in and refuse to give up, and they took back the momentum. And to me, that about 4, 5, 6 minutes into the third quarter, they started. Londonderry was closing the gap, and I was just so impressed with how that team took back momentum that they had earned in the second half, and they showed that Friday night they are the team in New Hampshire to beat in Division I.
Yeah, they certainly are. They were the preseason number 1, of course, led by senior Curtis Harris Lopez, the all-world superstar quarterback, ripped off another long run in this game on his way to a multi-touchdown effort. A 3-0 finish for the Titans. The question is that enough, Steve, to really get your legs underneath you heading into a tournament? Just a 3-game regular season due to complications for the Titans.
Well, if Friday night was any indication, I would say no. All the wheels are going. But again, teams have highs and they have lows, and what you want is the team to have the kind of experience and the workload and practice and reps behind them that when the low hits, it's at a higher level than it would be if you're inexperienced. So the only thing that I can really potentially see getting in the way of Nashua North as they work through these playoffs is if they don't have the reps and they face a team that just happens to get some breaks, get ahead of them. How are they going to do playing from behind? And I think that's really the thing that I see as Coach Lorendi's biggest challenge. And how do the young men react? If the third quarter is anything, they were ahead, but the game was tightening and there was a lot of stress in that game as that was happening. I would say that they're up to the challenge.
Yeah.
They're very well coached.
Again, North head coach Dante Lorendi joins us here on FNL Rewind, presented by Beals Insurance at the bottom of the hour. So we'll pick up this discussion with the former Merrimack assistant. On Saturday, you and I took a trip to Goffstown, one of the more pleasurable places to take in a Saturday game in the state. We saw the Grizzlies for the first time, and boy, they did not disappoint. They fell down early in this game against 3-1 Memorial as the Crusaders scored on their opening drive, but after that the floodgates opened, and they opened wide open. 46 unanswered points by Goffstown. They surrendered a touchdown in the final minute, but 46-13 the final. They go 5-0. Quarterback Jarrett Hunault, 2 touchdown passes in this one. He ran for 1 more. He also scored on 4 two-point tries. 4 times he ran in for 2. He's a weapon. We talked about up and down, really, this special senior class. And again, Coach Hammond
is on the way to illustrate that a little bit more. But boy, oh boy, if North is at number one, then Goffstown can't be too far behind. Again, a perfect 5-0 regular season for the Grizz following that big win over Memorial.
Yeah, that was an interesting game to call. Even though the score was as wide as it was at the end, I thought the first half, and even going into the beginning of the third quarter, there was an opportunity with some breaks. But once they had the onside kick that Goffstown kicked, and the gentleman just had a mental mistake, he'll never do that again. And he went on the ball. At that point, it was kind of like it seemed like at that point it was out of reach. But one of the things that was interesting in that game is, as you said, Memorial, the Crusaders went up 7-0 in that game early, and I thought they were running the ball extremely well. We talked about that in the broadcast, and I thought that they seemed to have Goffstown seemed to enter that game rusty. I would not say that Goffstown entered that game overconfident. I think the head coach,
Rob Sturgis.
no, I'm talking about Hammond. Does a great job of making sure that they're mentally ready, but they just seemed a little bit rusty. Hinault, we talked about, seemed a little uncomfortable when he threw the ball in the beginning, but boy, you make a mistake with that team, they make you pay, and they made them pay every single time. And I think the mistakes, we all knew with Memorial going in, they had to play mistake-free football. And I do think that if they had continued to run the ball, Nick, a little bit more, they would have been able to be a little more successful and take some more time off the clock. But Goffstown's offense was just on that field way too much. Probably a 3-1 margin.
Yeah, they controlled the time of possession for sure.
Hinault was impressive.
Got the things done on the ground with Picard and Hinault, as you mentioned. And Jarrett showing off that arm a little bit. I mentioned 2 touchdown passes, both of the long variety of over 45 yards out, so the big play was on display as well. Again, the final, Goffstown 46, Memorial 13. Other D1 scores from Week 5, Salem got out to a big lead and then held that lead and solidified a 26-14 win over the winless Wyndham Jaguars. Salem, one blemish on the regular season, but they're playing good football at the right time. Aiden McDonald, a $153 on the ground with a touchdown. Dante Fernandez scored twice on his way to 116 yards. That very dangerous 1-2 punch that the Blue Devils have.
I think it's fair to call them the dynamic duo. I don't know anybody who's got quite the 1 and 2 combination punch that Salem has, and you better get ready to stop them. I think a lot of that is going to wind up on what the quarterback, Clement, Cody Clement can do in the air. The running attack and the blocking scheme, it's working for Salem. Coach Abraham's really got those guys cranking right now. But against a really tough team, going down the wire with a secondary like we saw with Nashua North and Goffstown, if there's a third team right now, number 3, that I would say has the potential to cause those teams some problems, I'm not saying they're favored by any stretch, but if I was either one of those teams, I wouldn't want to draw Salem. I'd rather draw somebody else and face them in the finals, or have them knocked out before they get there. So Salem, to me, I think Steve's done a terrific job advancing this team and progressing this team. They look solid.
They did, and they're playing good football right now at the right time. Exeter, meanwhile, same thing. They've now won 3 in a row. They took care of Portsmouth without a problem, 35-6. Yep. They're 3-2, and again, riding that 3-game win streak going into the playoffs. And by the way, we'll get to that bracket in just a moment. I've got it right here. We'll break it down on the D1 side. Other Week 5 regular season scores, and this one the biggest head-scratcher so far.
Haven't figured it out.
Nashua South beating Bedford 41-7. It was a game that saw South ahead 21-0 at halftime, and really, I suppose, is a serious cause for concern for the Bedford Bulldogs. They do wind up with a winning record at 3-2, but Bedford really the talk of the town after knocking off Londonderry earlier in this regular season. They were the favorites against the Purple Panthers, but Coach Knight had other plans, clearly, as South again in walk-off fashion, 41-7 over Bedford.
I think it's a great guest you got coming on today as far as the media is concerned with Tom Kinn, because he's going to be able to give us some great analysis of the game we were at. He always adds something to it, but I'm hopeful that he knows what happened, where he's a big Nashua Telegraph guy. He knows what's going on there. I've asked 4 people, and nobody that I thought would know, and nobody knows. Nobody could tell me anything in particular what happened in that game. I'm hoping Tom can.
Tom will join us at 5:45, senior writer for the Nashua Telegraph. Winnicott, they're 4-1. They beat Spalding 21-6. Red Raiders held on for a long time in this football game, but Winnicott gets it done in the end, again 21-6. Some of the lower tier divisions, final scores: Trinity, no problem with Campbell. Two traditionally strong D3 programs, one-sided in this one. The Pioneers get it done 36-0. Manchester West, they end their season with a win, 21-14 over Sanborn. But breaking news, the Blue Knights have opted out of the Division II tournament. We'll have more on that in just a second. Hopkinton over John Stark, another lopsided one in this one. 36-7 is the final in favor of Hopkinton. Mascoma blows out Newfound 45-8, and Plymouth is another one to watch as the Bobcats look to get back to yet another championship game.
No surprise
in Division II. They close out the regular season in a big way. 51-18, my apologies. Plymouth beats Guilford Belmont. All right, let's take a look at the bracket here. The round of 16 will be played this weekend on both Friday and Saturday night. And on one half of the bracket, they've got them ranked 1 through 4, right? Or there's 4 sets of 1 through 4. So yes. 4 number 1 teams, 4 number 2s, 4 number 3s, and 4 number 4s. We get Goffstown is our first number 1. We mentioned they're 5-0. They will host winless Concord. That game is on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock at Goffstown. They will take on the winner of Bedford and Memorial. Bulldogs trying to rebound. Memorial trying to end a 2-game skid. The Bulldogs are the lower seed, will be on the road in this 2-3 matchup. That comes your way Friday at 7 o'clock at Manchester Memorial. And guess what? We will be there. Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire's game of the week for Friday will feature Bedford at Memorial.
And you wonder, Nick, if as far as that game is concerned, Bedford Memorial, where Memorial did a lot of good things. They got some good players on the team, and coaches got them. And then with you wonder where Bedford's at, as far as that game. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're right.
That's going to be a fun game to call, given everything that's leading up to it.
And of course, you throw in the do-or-die nature of the playoff game. That's an added layer of intrigue for sure.
And it's at Memorial.
All right, Dover and Exeter. That's another 1-4 matchup, and well, yes, you're hearing us correctly. Dover, the 1 seed, Exeter, the 4. I'm not sure if that's ever happened before. But again, Exeter far from your typical underdog here. Again, riding a 3-game win streak. Dover, they close out the regular season 3-0. It's the best the Green Wave have looked in years.
We saw them in weeks past. They look good.
We will be there on Saturday for our second game of the weekend. Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire game of the week. That'll be at 1 o'clock. Again, Saturday at 1 o'clock, we'll have the live broadcast. Exeter, as they look to get back to the championship game.
It's a big game.
Against Dover, looking for their first postseason win in a long, long time. And then the final matchup on the northeast side of the bracket is number 2 Winnicott against number 3 Spalding. That's, again, a D1 East matchup that will be played on Saturday at 1 o'clock. On the other side of the bracket, they're calling it the Southwest bracket. North and BG, that's a 1-4 matchup. North, obviously, the 1. And that game is a neutral site, of course. They both play their home games at Stello Stadium. That goes down Friday night at 6:30. Again, that's BG at North, Friday night, 6:30. They will get the winner of Merrimack and Nashua South. That's another game.
I like that game.
Is intriguing. It's the final game to be played on the weekend. It'll be Saturday night at 6. With Merrimack, the host, the number 2 Tomahawks. Again, Purple Panthers coming in off the win over Bedford. And the final 2 matchups, Londonderry and Wyndham. That's a rematch from 2 weeks ago, a lopsided Lancer win. Londonderry, the 2 seed, Wyndham, the 3. That'll be 1 o'clock on Saturday. Again, Londonderry hosting Wyndham at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Final matchup, Salem and Alvern. That's an uphill battle, frankly, for the Broncos. Salem looks for another win. That game will be played Friday night at 7. So a quick recap. Again, this is in D1. The first round matchups are set. Concord at Goffstown on Saturday at 1. Bedford at Memorial. That is Friday night at 7. We will have coverage of that. Exeter is at Dover. That game Saturday at 1. We'll have coverage of that as well on FNLNH Media, in conjunction, by the way, with NHSF, which will have...
NFHS, yes.
Yes, we will be telling you a little bit more about that partnership as this tournament goes on, but it looks like we will be in conjunction with them and with the NHIAA, frankly, for that broadcast. But you'll be able to find it on our YouTube channel as well. Winnicott and Spalding, we mentioned that one. That'll be played in Hampton Saturday at 1 o'clock. Then the other side of the bracket, BG at North, Friday night at 6:30. Merrimack hosts South Saturday night at 6. Londonderry will host Wyndham Saturday at 1. And Alvern travels to Salem for a Friday night battle at 7 o'clock. Steve, your thoughts on that first round matchups?
Well, I'm counting the minutes that it would take to leave the Dover game and get to the Merrimack South game, but I just brought that up. But, boy, I'll tell you, I'd like to see that game as well. Love to call it. But I didn't realize that game was at 6 o'clock, to be honest with you. I like that game, but to me, the marquee matchup that I really want to see is the Dover and Exeter game that I really think Exeter, you talk to people, they're really rolling right now, and I think that's going to be a terrific game. I'm very high on Dover, what Coach has been able to do out there. A lot of games that you got to go in looking at. They're probably a lopsided victory for a lot of teams. I think we've got the right ones to cover. I will tell you the matchups in the following week after this week, if the people, it's really going to be fun, and we talked about that before. There's a lot of good teams I want to see.
Yeah, we will absolutely dive into that next week.
It's going to be a tough one
as well. All right, quick break. Rob Sturgis of Manchester Memorial on the other side. You're watching FNL Rewind, presented by Beals Insurance. FNL Rewind is presented by Beals Insurance. Locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Call Steve at 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com. Nick and Astis with Steve Beals. We got Dante Lorende of Nashua North coming up in about 10 minutes or so at 5:45 Eastern. Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph jumps on the line, and then we wrap up the show with Nick Hammond of Goffstown. But right now, joining us on the line from Manchester is the Memorial Crusaders head coach, Rob Sturgis. Coach Sturgis, welcome inside FNL Rewind. We appreciate the time. How are you?
Doing well. Be a little bit better if we had a better result last Saturday, but doing great. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Well, no matter what happens, Coach, this week you're hosting Bedford. We'll get to that in a moment. But by all measures, it's been a success for you in the program for sure. The 3-0 start, I don't think anyone saw that coming. You hung tough last week against Winnicott, and you did some good things despite the final score here against Goffstown back on Saturday. What's your assessment on not only what your team has done through the 5-game regular season, but some of the steps that the program has made over the last couple of years? What is your take on all of that heading into this postseason tournament?
Yeah, when I took the job, this is year 3 now. I mean, we laid it out to the kids. We told them year 1 was all about kind of teaching them what it takes to actually fight through games, and showing up's important, making sure you're here for everything, whether it's off season or in season. And then year 2 is teaching them that scoreboards don't matter. If you give your best effort all the time in practice, off the field, during games, you're always going to have a chance to come out on top at the end. And now we've made this step this year where it started progressing toward competing with these teams that, like you said, at the beginning of the year, we didn't know if we'd be able to compete with them as far as the size and skill. But they really have bought into that, and they've put in a lot of hard work in the last 3 years, these seniors trying to press forward and change the culture here.
Yeah. You mentioned it, Coach, the key couple of words, I guess, buy in. How do you get those players to buy in? I mean, this is a program that went through some dark days. I think it was 4 seasons without a victory. You get there, you start to get kids to, quote-unquote, buy in, stick around, show up, etc. How do you do that? Because oftentimes it sounds easier said than done.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, but I think one of the biggest things was showing the kids that we cared about them even through the bad. It's really easy to kind of give up on kids when they're not winning, they're not having success, but really sitting there and having conversations on a daily basis, not just about football, but about life, and showing them that you're here for them no matter what. And that could be wins, that could be losses, that could be good grades or bad grades. But once they know that you care about them as a person, I feel they're willing to do a lot more than they mentally think they can do. They're willing to fight for you as a coach, and they're willing to fight for their teammates because they're putting in the same amount of work as they are.
Rob, Steve Beals here. Thank you so much for coming on. When you come off a loss, it's not easy to say yes, and I'm really glad you did, because I'll be honest with you, I like your football team, and I think everything that you just said as it relates of how you feel about your ball players and what you believe high school football is all about, I salute you for the things that you said. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. I coached for a number of years, and boy, I'll tell you, it's so important to shepherd these young men along into full-grown men, and what you just said really impressed me. So I just want to say that from the start. And I also want to say,
it.
Yep, I mean it. And I also could see that your players were coming off looking for direction on the field. And that's not something that necessarily before 3 years I necessarily sought a lot of. So you're doing something right there. The question that I had is that it looked to me like your offensive line was doing a great job there in the first drive. And then you were deep in your own end, and they started to it looked like they started a passing game, and it looked like it might have cost you a little bit. How come that you didn't? And this is constructive. I mean this. Yeah, totally constructive. Your offensive line seemed to be doing a fantastic job. What did you see that made you stop doing that? Because it appeared like it cost you a little bit in that first quarter.
Yeah, we went in with a game plan of knowing Goffstown's size and their speed. You have to find a way to manipulate the way they play, because they want to play so downhill. They want to play so aggressive on defense that the only way we thought we could consistently run the football and consistently pound the ball was to mix in spreading the ball and keep those safeties at home. I mean, they do an awesome job teaching those safeties when to trigger downhill and run game.
I agree.
And we thought we had to open it up a little bit and throw. I know the play you're talking about when we threw the pick down there. Honestly, that was just we were still going off our opening drive script. We scored early. Okay. We scored earlier than we expected. So we were on play, I think, 7 of our scripts. I had 10 scripted, and it was just kind of roll down the script, still trying to find out exactly how they were going to play against all of our formations. And unfortunately, overthrew the ball. I mean, the receiver was open, but he overthrew him by a good 10 yards.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that was the big difference in the game, honestly, is I thought physically, maybe not for a whole 4 quarters yet, but we could hang with them on a talent level, on a physicality level, but we just made way too many mental mistakes on offense and on defense too. Against a team that's so explosive on offense and defense like Goffstown, you can't afford to make those mistakes, especially in crucial times like you said, that second drive. I mean, if we're able to keep them off the scoreboard, go down there, if we're able to score on that next drive after they score, could be a completely different game. But
couldn't agree with you more.
It's a situation, too, where our kids have never experienced that type of playoff atmosphere. I know it wasn't a playoff game, but that's really the first time they've been in that type of situation, and I was proud of the way they responded to it.
I don't blame you a bit. Like I said, those kids were coming off looking for direction. I saw a lot of coaching going on the sidelines with your assistant coaches as well with these young men, and that was impressive. And that's a program that's got the opportunity, potential to turn around. A couple guys I wanted to that just really impressed me. Eric Seymour. Tell us about this young freshman running back. This kid is really impressive. The other one is this kid Kai Colson. I mean, when he gets the ball, I mean, this kid fights for every single yard. I mean, and one's a junior and the other's a freshman. Talk to about those guys. And the last guy, and I promise you this will be it, I saw Braden Hafman at the end. I like your team, Coach. I really do. Braden Hafman really impressed me that last quarter there. This kid's good. You're going to have a quarterback next year, too.
Yep. Yeah, honestly, our team right now is built around our junior class, and they really thrive on the leadership of our seniors, because our seniors have seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and they're horrendous. So they've really seen it all, and they've done an awesome job leading this junior class. But we have a junior class of about 25 kids. Our incoming freshman class was another 25 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot of skills coming up through the pipeline, a lot of development. To mention the kids that you said, I mean,
Seymour. Start with Seymour.
Yeah, Seymour's been fantastic this year. He's someone who, as soon as they were able to in the summer, was coming to our voluntary workouts, going to some 7-on-7s. Like, he was able to show up and really show a leadership aspect of a freshman that we never really seen here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really a great compliment to Kai, because Seymour's someone he's got great vision, but he doesn't quite have the speed yet to really pull away from people. I mean, being a young kid who's just been playing Pee Wee football his whole life, to all of a sudden coming here and going against, I mean, we'll talk about Goffstown, some grown men, being able to understand his role, that he's our physical back. He's the guy who's going to get in there, get dirty, try and pound his legs forward and make some good reads, hitting it tight. And then, like you said with Kai, I mean, he's been getting reps since he was a freshman. So he's been doing it all, and kudos to him. He's been battling through a high ankle sprain for the last 5 weeks, and he keeps showing up all the time. He keeps working his butt off to try and get better and try and fight through that. But he is our little electric bug, you know. He sparks us all the time.
Well, you got Bedford you got Bedford, coach, next week. They just come off a loss to South. What's the game plan here? Obviously not X's and O's, but how do you think you stack up against this team?
You know, I mean, Bedford's always really good. You know, they're very physical and they have awesome athletes. But I mean, really, it comes down to what we talk about with our kids all the time. It's about us. If we go out there, if we play physical, smash mouth football, like we know we can, and take care of the football, which we haven't done the last 2 weeks, we should be able to be in it at the end. And we know when it comes down to that, which every playoff game usually does, it just comes down to making plays. If you can just keep the game close enough where at the end you can let your athletes and your big line go make plays, we think we have a good chance if we can get to that situation.
Well, Coach, we will be there for the live broadcast on Friday night. We wish you luck, and we appreciate the time today joining us here on FNL Rewind. Thank you,
Congratulations.
Coach.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Good luck, Coach.
Thanks.
And again, Rob Sturgis, third-year head coach at Manchester Memorial. Crusaders playing a home playoff game this Friday night against Bedford. Kickoff is at 7. All right, we will bring in our next guest in about 60 seconds. If you can hang on that long, it'll be worth it, I promise. Dante Lorendi making his season debut, the North coach. And boy, oh boy, the Titans look scary on Friday night. They look scary as the favorite going into this D1 tournament. Coach Lorendi on the other side. Excuse me, you are watching FNL Rewind presented by Beals Insurance. Back here in the Beals Insurance Studios, Nick Anastas with Steve Beals. It's FNL Rewind presented by Beals Insurance, and it can be heard every Monday live at 5 Eastern during football season. We thank Coach Sturgis of Memorial for joining us a moment ago. Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph coming up in about 10 minutes or so, and we'll wind up the show with Nick Hammond, head coach at Goffstown. But right now, joining us on the phone is Dante Lorendi, Nashua North's head coach. Coach, welcome in. We appreciate the time. How are you?
Good, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, Coach, I'm going to use your own words for a moment. You said that you were surprised on how well your team played on Friday night, a 36-7 victory over Londonderry. It was a highly anticipated matchup, two of the more well-known and premier programs in Division I, and you guys handled business, highlighted by a 20-point second quarter and a 20-0 halftime lead that eventually turned into 36-7. I mean, how surprised were you on how well your team went out and played a very, very good Londonderry Lancer team?
Yeah, I was not surprised on our effort. We played with great effort all year so far, or I should say the previous 2 games that we had. I think we were pretty fortunate to get a couple of key turnovers and stops early to grab some momentum. So, that's a outstanding football team, obviously defending champs, and very tough. So I think we created a couple of breaks, and we're able to take advantage of that, which like I said, got us momentum early, and we're able to kind of just keep it going.
Coach, last year your team ran the table in a 9-game regular season and then lost your quarterback going into that playoff game against Merrimack. How have you used that loss to motivate your guys, especially that senior group coming back for this year, kind of an unfinished business type of campaign? How have you and your staff really tapped into that from a motivation standpoint?
We really tried not to. It wasn't so much, hey, we lost out on last year, because, there's nothing you can do that makes up for last year. So we kind of just tried to build off of. We knew we had a good group of them back and a lot of experience, and I think the kids themselves just kind of fed off of that. They knew it too. They played together in the youth leagues. Kids coming back and all the experience that they had last year was more of the fuel than anything we had to kind of use from last year.
I want to ask one more before I throw it over to Steve about your quarterback, Curtis Harris-Lopez, who was widely talked about, highly regarded amongst circles across the state last year. He had 6 Division I offers in the offseason, from what I understand, and he seems better, hard to believe, but better this year, at least from what we saw Friday night, than at times last year. We know how good of a quarterback he is. He's an excellent safety as well. That may be his position at the next level. But just tell me about the improvement that you've seen, Coach, from Harris-Lopez as he tries to come back from an injury. He is back from that injury, but really trying to add to his game in his final year at Nashua North.
Yeah, he's, first and foremost, he's better.
You're losing him.
It's hello?
Yeah, we got you. You're breaking up a little bit, Coach, but we got
Sorry
you now.
about that.
Head to higher ground, Coach.
You got it.
Go on the bleachers.
I'll try and get a better spot here. How's that, guys?
That's
That
much
sounds
better.
much better. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'll try and get see if I can get a little outside too. A bad spot. Sorry. Hopefully that's all right. Yeah,
that's
he's a
much better.
competitor. He's a competitor. We know that, and he's hard on himself. He wants to be great. Obviously, another year in the same system, both offensively and defensively, where he's getting a ton of the reps and really understanding what we're trying to do. That has helped. So he's more confident in his decision making, and once he gets going, he's such a good athlete that it just takes over.
Coach, thanks for coming on. Steve Beals here. I have going a little bit of a different direction. One of the things that I noticed with the team was when Londonderry was trying to make a play in the opening of the second half, and they were making some headway in the game. Got a little tight there. I thought you guys, as a whole, the whole team, both sides of the ball, just refused to give up the momentum, and they pushed it back. And one of the ways in which you did that was run the ball behind Max Ackerman, Spencer Whiting, and I think I have this right, Zach Matzak, right?
Zach Mazak, yep.
Mazak. I noticed you kept on calling the running game behind the left side there. Talk to us about them, because you don't see a group of players overwhelm the Londonderry Lancers very often, and those 3 guys did it. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, those guys have been not going dependable, not only all year but last year. And I think one of the things, getting back to you guys mentioned last year earlier, one of the key, a major loss for us, and I know Curtis overshadowed everything, but we lost Zach Mazak, I think, in game 4 or 5 last year, and that was a tremendous loss for us, because the timing of his snaps. He's a really, really smart kid. He's extremely quick off the ball. So he was a key loss. So having him back has been great. And then Spencer and Max are returning 3. This will be their 3rd year starting on a varsity. We actually brought them up as freshmen. They played a lot of freshmen, a lot of varsity ball for us when they were both freshmen. So their experience, they both have a great work ethic in the off season. They're both very strong. Spencer, they're both wrestlers. So
I said that. I said that on the air, Coach.
You did.
Yeah.
I said that they look like wrestlers, the way they move the ball. They play low. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I'll have to tell Coach Zabolis that. He'll be very happy. Our O-line coach is also our wrestling coach. So I think he's done a great job recruiting and building numbers in the program, and he's always selling football and wrestling. So I'm glad you guys noticed that. He'll be really happy.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to mention, Curtis Harris Lopez is a phenomenal player. Yeah, all great teams have them, but you've got a supporting cast of actors here, going from Espinal to Green and the whole offensive line. I thought Max Ackerman just played incredibly, took over the defense as well, and just caused havoc in the backfield on when he played defense. As you look forward and play, how do you keep these guys up? Sometimes it looks like it's pretty easy because they seem so motivated themselves. Where do you see the team going as far as staying up when you haven't lost a game? That's got to be that's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I think it's everybody's, especially, with their high school kids, it's very, very
Right.
tough. And we just had practice today and talked about, this is not the time for a lapse. This is not the time to be overconfident. This is not the time to overlook anybody because, it doesn't take much to have a bad day. And, as much as we had a couple of good wins, those wins are only a couple of plays away from going the other way.
Mm-hmm.
You get a couple of turnovers and bad calls or some bad penalties, and before you know it, you're on the other end of things. So we have to try and keep our focus on that. And guys are excited. I think they're excited about the opportunity, one, to first of all be playing, and two, to have an opportunity to be in the playoffs altogether. And we do have a lot of guys that can contribute, and we're going to need all of them. And sometimes it's you got a big dose of Jaden the other night and Isaac, and there'll be other times where as we go we're going to need other guys to step up, and every night could be different, which is a good thing for us. And we have to continue to be unselfish and play for each other, and if we do the things, then that's all you could ask for.
Well, good luck this week, Coach. I'll send it back to Nick, but all three phases of the game look very tight to me. So I'll turn it over to Nick, and best of luck to you next week. And it was really enjoyable watching you and your coaching group over by the car there when we were unpacking all of our stuff, and you guys were having a nice time. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? So
yeah,
best of luck.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate it.
Coach, one final question from me. I'll let you go. BG is the opponent coming in, obviously very familiar with the Cardinals and their program, Coach Trisciani's brand of football. What are you doing this week to get ready for a do-or-die playoff game against BG?
Well, like we just talked about, just keeping our kids focused on, 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago was exactly that. 3 weeks ago. This is as far as we're concerned, a new opponent and a new week. And certainly was a good game a couple weeks ago, but that doesn't have anything to do with this week. And they've gotten better over 3 weeks. They can definitely make plays. I thought they were a young, physical group defensively, and they have some guys that could make things happen on offense, and they can score pretty quick. So this is a completely new ball game and a restart, and we need everything. We got to do everything in our power to remain focused.
Well, Coach, good luck. We appreciate the time again today, and we'll talk down the road. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate all you do for our kids in the state. You guys do a great job.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Again, that's Dante Lorende of Nashua North. They will take on BG at Stello Stadium on Friday night.
Players and teams tend to take on the personality of the coach. I'll just leave it at that. Your last two coaches we've talked to, you can see.
Yeah.
New Hampshire is very fortunate. I just one coach after every single week. These guys are really into their teams, and to see the smile on Dante's face, the kids, they feed off of that.
He's a friendly guy,
a friendly
general,
guy,
a player's coach, and
Yeah, knows how to call a game, too, knows how to make adjustments like Coach Lozon. I've always talked highly about him and Coach O'Reilly, and Dante's right in there.
Yeah, he is. The only thing missing, a championship ring, and that is what the Titans are on the hunt for over the next 4 weeks. All right, Tom King, he's on the hunt for something, probably a leftover cheeseburger. But
well, we weren't invited to
we'll
the compound because of the pandemic, I'm sure.
I'm not sure I'd want to go over there in regular circumstances.
No,
Tom King, Nashua Telegraph.
I hope he's not listening.
On the other side here on FNL Rewind, presented by Beals Insurance. Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph joins us now on FNL Rewind, presented by Beals Insurance. Nick Hammond of Goffstown coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Tom, live from the Tom Pound. Good afternoon, sir. Good evening, I suppose. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, I guess it is. The day kind of flies. They kind of fly these days, don't they, with all this stuff that's going on?
It's getting shorter and shorter, too. It's darker and darker, earlier and earlier.
Yeah, no kidding.
Winter is coming.
Exactly. Yeah,
right.
Winter's coming sooner than we think, and it may have an effect Friday night. We don't know.
That's a good point. We're just talking off air that snow potentially could be in the forecast for Friday. How does that affect, Tom, games on the ground Friday night in this open tournament?
Depends on what you play on, Nick. If you play on grass, it's going to make it all soft, muddy. Footing may be tough. If you play on turf, it won't be as fast, but it's probably easier to move than if you're on grass. I mean, I did the Merrimack North game. If we want to go back in time, I did the Merrimack North quarterfinal 2 years ago. And that game was played in. It was a tropical downpour about first quarter and a half, and then it stopped. But the field was just so muddy that it definitely affected the play and affected the way the Titans play. They weren't able to get Curtis Harris out in space and any of their speed. Any weather is going to affect teams with speed. I saw it today when I just did a soccer game, and I saw a very fast Nashville South team, get slowed down from the way the turf gets wet and slippery. Mm-hmm. So, but it's not, Friday night, Girton and North are going to play on turf. So it'll be cold, and who knows about the snow in terms of footing and everything else. It'll affect the footing. But I think it would affect the footing more if it was played on natural grass.
Mm-hmm. Talk about this North team, Tom. We saw you at the game Friday night. Again, Titans beat Londonderry 36-7. Are they the clear-cut number one? And if so, is there a gap after them in the rankings? I mean, is this their tournament to lose, or how good is this Nashua North team at this point in the season?
Yeah, I was avoiding you guys Friday night as much as possible until Beals caught up with me at the end of the game, so I couldn't avoid. I just think that they have so many guys that they can involve in their offense other than Curtis Harris Lopez. Now, we haven't seen it because they've only played 3 games.
Right.
And, he had 198 rushing yards in one of them, but the other 2, they were, 100-yard games, but they weren't, all of a sudden Curtis Harris Lopez rushes for 5-6 touchdowns and 250 yards. We didn't have any of those games this year. Why? Because they got other people like Jaden Espinal, Brian Malongi, Anthony Green. They have other guys, Isaiah
Smith.
Isaiah Smith. They've got other guys who can, take the pressure off Harris Lopez and really keep a defense guessing. The one thing they don't seem to have that I thought they had a little bit more of last year is the air game. He knows that he, wants to work on his passing, but I don't think a team at college is going to have him play at quarterback. I think he'd be a running back or play in the defensive end, as a safety or a defensive back, one or the other. But for all intents and purposes now, I mean, North's going to have to put the ball up in the air a couple times, just take the pressure off the ground game. So they've got to be careful because you saw him throw that screen pass the other night, and it was off his back foot. He was trying to do, twirl around and everything else. It didn't look good. So they have to, they've got a tall target if they can get him going. And Lucas Cunningham, he's a big kid. He can get up there and catch it.
Sure is.
They
He's
just
about 6'3", I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just have a lot of different things that they can do. But you know what they've done really well this year, guys?
Defense.
They played defense really well.
You took away my
exactly,
question,
Mr.
Tom.
Bill.
Tom,
Yeah,
you took away.
they played. I always do that, Nick. I do that on purpose.
Yeah,
I really
well,
do.
that's
Just to
all right.
irritate people.
I can take it.
You know?
I can take it. Hey, here, I got a question for you, and it is related to defense, Tom. One of the things that I seen at Goffstown before Londonderry lost Raza. I saw it with Londonderry, and I'm not saying it's not there, but that's a big loss to the Londonderry Lancers. But the Nashua North Titans and the Goffstown Grizz, they have a secondary that is a shutdown secondary, and they force a lot of teams to go 3 and out, and that's why I have them at 1 and 2, even more so than their offenses. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen Goffstown, so I can't really speak to them. I mean, I haven't even seen them on tape or seen any highlights or anything, or even some stuff online. I haven't seen them.
Speak to North then. Give us your thoughts on North. That's what I see.
With North in their secondary, they shut people down because they hit hard. If you're going to touch the football against North, you're going to pay the price if you're a receiver. And they know, the word's gotten around. Everybody knows it. So, that's the one thing that the Titans do very, very well. It's a very athletic team. Look, you give me a team with 4 or 5 skill position players that can do it on both sides of the ball and have basically all of their linemen from the year before back. I'm going to give you arguably the best team around, and that's what we have at National North right now. But you know what? They have been. They thought that Londonderry was the best team that they would have played. I mean, South now is probably the best team that they would play because the way South has come on the last 2 weeks, and that South has played it perfectly. They've tried to build it up the ladder and get better. So, but they weren't a good team when North played them earlier. So Londonderry, on paper, is the best team that North has played.
Well,
they just haven't been challenged enough, guys, for me to really say that they can do this and they can do that.
All right, let's stick with South then, Tom. 41-7 over Bedford. You mentioned back-to-back wins. What has been the biggest difference between this team versus a month ago?
And what about Bedford at the same time? Right. What's going on there?
Well, I haven't seen Bedford, so I can't really speak to them either. So with Nashua South, what I see is, but don't forget, that was a game that was hastily put together. So Bedford, maybe, I don't know how much game planning they were able to do and divert everything to what they wanted to do. So, that's something that always affects. Any change always affects a game, whether it's hastily scheduled, not on the schedule, added to the schedule, delayed by a day. You always see a difference in the way kids approach it. All right, but what South has done, and they've made one now. Chris Keefe is a developing quarterback. I did a story on him. He's a good quarterback. He's just getting better the more he's played. The flip side, they did one strategic thing. They moved the man-child, Jason Campo, to defensive end, and he is a stud. He is a force on defense, and I think that has made all the difference in the world for them defensively. He just can pressure anybody and is all over the field. But when they put him down at defensive end, boy, did that help shut things down for other teams' offenses.
Yeah. Dante, sorry, Coach.
No, go ahead, Steve.
Dante Larende, Tom, I've seen a lot of coaches with great teams maybe not get the best out of that talent, but I thought he managed. I mean, Jimmy Lozon is a formidable coach, very high in the sky. He knows how to run an offense, knows how to manage a team, knows when to call a timeout, knows how to manage the clock. And I thought the war that I saw going on between those two friends the other night was just fantastic. Your thoughts on Dante Larende? I thought he did a great job countering one of the best offensive minds in New Hampshire today in Jimmy Lozon.
Well, I think that's just defensively. They and that a lot of that goes to Kyle Taves. Taves is a really good coach.
He sure is.
And he's a really good defensive coordinator. And I joked with Taves a couple of weeks ago because all you heard when they were on the opposite sideline for their first 2 games was his voice. It was just, it was all over that defense.
The sculpture.
And Dante Loren, I've been around that staff in their meeting rooms and things like that when I've had to go do interviews or whatever. They are a bunch that is very tight-knit. Same as South, but they're a bunch that's very tight-knit, and they kind of know each other really well and know what they want to do. And Dante Lorendi has guys around him that he trusts, and he delegates and lets them do things. And, look, he's got a lot of the best thing that Lorendi has done this year is diversify and get that team to use other people and not just go with one player all the time in Curtis Harris Lopez, because those guys are now seniors. He's got Jaden Espinal. What a play he ran for over 100 yards the other night. What a great athlete. He can do things on both sides of the ball. And when Harris Lopez went down last year with the knee injury, Espinal stepped in at quarterback.
Right.
So that's what Lorendi has done, is he's managed the roster so well.
Yeah, I seen Max Ackerman, Tom, just a one-man gang on both sides of the ball the other night. He was incredible as well.
Well, that's that whole line. But Ackerman is the key. Ackerman is the big stud. I did a story on him last year. He's a great kid. He loves football. He loves being a lineman. He wants to play in college, the whole bit. The kid's a ham. He really is.
He's a good
kid. He's a great kid. They love him, and they put things together with that team. They've just put kids in the right places. Yeah, they really have. And they've worked hard in the weight room. They try. This has been a different off season for everybody in football, in high school football. They had to make sure that these kids, tried to work out. Where were they going to lift? To tell you what Chris Keefe did in the story I wrote last Friday. He built his own weight room in his garage for National South because he knew he had to get bigger and stronger. He built it himself.
Like it.
So, and North this summer had great numbers participating in the agility stuff and all the different stuff you could do in the off season. They had a lot of participation. I talked to Dante Lorendi about that in late August. He said the numbers were like 40 kids, showing up. That's a lot of kids. Everybody in that program has bought in, and they're hungry.
Yeah. Because
they know they missed an opportunity last year.
Yeah. Yeah, we asked Coach that same question, and he downplayed it a little bit, which we expected.
As a good coach
but I think that is there for sure. All right,
Dante downplays everything.
Right.
He's no dummy. He's a smart coach, believe me.
He sure is. Yep.
Final question, Tom. When is the weight room going to be completed that you're building in your garage over there at the compound?
Right after the hot tub, right?
Yeah, I've been working out with the non-heavy, with the non-weights. I've been doing bands and things like that. So that's what I'll. At my age, Nick, I think it's more. At my age, it's not bulk. It's kind of.
It's tone, isn't it tone,
right, it's
Tom?
Tone. It's all tone, not bulk. So
when you have a pool and you're hanging out by the pool, you got to have tone. Hey, I have one more quick one. Do you think Coach Knight and crew has the potential, if Nashua North is successful this week, and if South is successful against Merrimack, and I'm only asking this because we're talking about to the guy from the Nashua Telegraph, if that game did come about, and I would not count either one of those other programs out for a second, do you think that the Battle of Nashua game, do you think anything could happen in that? Is Nashua South that good that they could upset?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The ratings for Nashua ETV and our broadcast will go right through the roof for that one.
Right.
I'll tell you that right now.
Right. Wow.
But, rivalry game. I just saw a Nashua North soccer team that lost to Londonderry 7-0 hold a Nashua South team that beat Bishop Girton 7-1 just 3 days ago to 1 goal in a 1-0 South win. A rivalry game.
So you never know, right?
You never know. You never know. And South is peaking. They're getting better.
Yep.
So it'll be a great game on Saturday night in Merrimack, that's for sure, and I'll be at that one as well.
All right, let us know on the weight room, Tom, because I'll be down, and of course the hot tub as well.
Yeah, well, you can spot me. And the hot tub, it's $1,000 a dip. So we'll fill,
Gee, what do you fill that thing with high level champagne or what?
Exactly.
Good to talk to you, buddy. Hey,
I got to make money somewhere.
Thank you, Tom. We appreciate it. We'll check in again down the road.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Tom.
And again, Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph. Final guest in overtime. Coming up, Nick Hammond of Goffstown on the other side. You're watching FNL Rewind, presented by Beals Insurance. Final segment here, an overtime segment of FNL Rewind. It's presented by Beals Insurance. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Call Steve at 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com. Final guest, Nick Hammond. He's on the line right now. The first-year Goffstown coach joins us here on FNL Rewind. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How about yourself?
We are good. Congratulations on the 5-0 regular season. You capped that off with a big exclamation point Saturday by blowing out Memorial 46-13. Does it seem like, Coach, this team has gradually gotten better over the course of this 5-week regular season? Are they hitting their stride at the right time here going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we're getting better every time we're on the field. With the shortened preseason right now, I think tonight was practice 31 for us, which would typically put us at about week 3 of a regular season. So we're starting to hit that, what you would typically see as a mid-season stride.
Yeah, good point. Your quarterback, very good, very powerful. We saw that in his usage around the goal line. He had 4 two-point conversions, a rushing touchdown, and then a couple through the air as well. Of course, that's Jared Hinault. Talk about his development, Coach. I mean, he looks like really in complete control of that offense and a really dynamic weapon for you at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, Jared's a really unique piece for us. He over the offseason really worked hard in the weight room and got his physical stature to where he's more of a dominant force on the field. He's about 215 pounds, so he's not the wiry 185, 190 he was last year. And then just overall, he has a really good grasp of the offense and what we're trying to accomplish.
So he put on 25 pounds in the offseason, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be a testament to your strength program, given the fact that it was during this pandemic as well. That's going to be very a pleasant surprise, I would think, for you and your staff, right?
Oh, it was first time we saw him on July 13th. It was a very pleasant surprise, yeah.
Speaking of big boys, you got a big tight end who unfortunately has been lost for the year. Of course, that's Peyton Strickland. How have you been able to fill that void? Because he was such an important piece, especially on the offensive side.
Yeah, Peyton's a very dynamic and unique piece in terms of being the size, strength that he is with the athletic ability. So we're not really able to, replicate him. There's not another one of him on our team. So it's just kind of been a next man up mentality, and we do like some of our other pieces there as well.
Coach, Steve Beals here. Thanks for coming on. As Nick said, we really appreciate it. We were out there doing the game, and the venue of Goffstown, I miss all those screaming fans in the community, but you certainly still put on a great show out there. Just love to watch a football game without a track so close to the action. And being right behind you was a lot of fun because everybody knows where Coach Hammond thought process is in that game. I could tell you were a little frustrated. Looked like they came on a little bit slow, a little rusty, but boy, I saw you keep on working with these guys, your coaches on the sideline, and all of a sudden the engine turned on, and they were just very impressive as the game went on. And there's one thing you can say about Goffstown: don't make any mistakes because you're going to make them pay. But the question that I had for you was there was a situation where it was down towards the scoreboard, and you were running down almost to the 10-yard line trying to get a timeout. What did you see? And why did you? Because we're still kind of wondering. Wasn't sure whether it was the offense that was called. You didn't like what was on the field. What was that? And because it was very successful the next play. Kudos to you.
we had our goal line package in on defense, and we did not like the formation they came out in, and we needed to check it, and we were unable to on the fly, so we needed a timeout.
Well, it was a good call because it definitely made a difference. You guys had to look like some sort of a blitz. I couldn't tell if it was a safety blitz or a corner blitz. I was watching the lineman, but somebody busted through the line and made a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. And
it was Jeremy Hinault.
I believe. Yeah, it was Jeremy. You're right. That's who it was. Coach, the offense. You can talk about Hinault, how he commands an offense, how you can see the confidence that the players have around him in offense. But I want to focus on your defensive secondary. I thought, one of the things that you look for championship level teams and or teams that are going to be strong going down to the wire. You got to have a good defensive secondary. And talk to us about those guys. Good crew, seem to know their position well, know how to contain. I don't know. I look at them and I see you can stack them up against anybody.
Yeah, we really like our guys. They're a very intelligent group. They're able to line up and make some of the checks that we need to make based on formations. Athletic. We got a couple long corners in Will Sasso and Mikey Levesque that give us some good scheme flexibility there. And they show up every day and they work hard, and ultimately that's all we can ask for.
Right. Zach Picard, what a valuable player that young man is. I watch him, the way he waits for blocks, and when he finds that hole, he goes through it, and then he makes that outside cut, and he's just so elusive. Talk to us about him. We just saw the Goffstown for the first time yesterday when we did the game. Is he been doing this all year?
This is actually year 2 of Zach doing this. He is the best kept secret in the state of New Hampshire.
He sure is.
He doesn't necessarily hit the home run, so I don't think he gets some of the credit that other guys around the state do. But he is as consistent as anyone. He's great. He's selfless. He's unbelievable in pass protection. Great lead blocker and some of the other run stuff. Carries out run fakes. He just does all the little things that, as a coach, you love to see.
Yeah. All right. One more, I guess, from me, Coach, and that pertains to you and your relationship with your predecessor, Justin Huft, who is now the athletic director. What has it been like working with him, knowing that your boss is your former football coach or the former football coach at the school? It's a different dynamic, so to speak. And then you throw COVID in on top of it all. I mean, how has the last 6, 7, 8 months working with former Coach Huft, how has that been? What has that been like for you?
It's been great. Coach Huff's an unbelievable football mind, so any football questions I have, able to bounce things off of him. Just another resource. And then just in terms of athletic director, I think he has his finger on the pulse of everything he needs to. Great communication, and we're just able to kind of do our thing on the football field, and he's just overseeing it.
Yeah. All right, you've got Concord coming up in the round of 16, Coach. What can you give us? I know you're not going to give away the playbook, but give me a couple of points here. What needs to go right for your squad to wrap up that playoff win against the Crimson coming up this weekend?
Offensively, I think it's continuing to execute at a high level. I don't know if we've been consistent or at the level we need to win playoff games on offense on a down-by-down basis. So getting that tightened up will be important for us. And defensively, it comes down to tackling. I think we've done a pretty good job all year with that stuff, but it's got to get better to win games in November.
All right, Coach. Good stuff. Impressive win back on Saturday, and we wish you luck this Saturday going up against Concord. Thanks again, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Coach. You. That's, again, Coach Nick Hammond of Goffstown. The Grizz, about as scary as anybody.
They are.
Good a chance as anybody of bringing home this D1 championship. It would be their first since 2015.
Thought he did a great job in that game managing they came out a little bit slow. Especially, I think he knows the pulse of his football team. He knows the offense is they're very powerful, and then all of a sudden they'll run into some problems where they'll go into a 3-and-out. He's right on, and I think a lot of that's going to be the comfort of Hinault when he throws the ball. We saw as soon as his footwork it is his normal self, he's outstanding. And then a couple times he'll kind of go back on his back foot and so on and so forth. He knows where his team is, but I thought he did a great job getting his players to recognize don't take this team lightly. and thought he did a great job. Hit that emotion that he showed on the field. The players began to realize and sense that from him, and then the team just followed his lead.
Yeah, and the good coaches have a tendency to do that, the ability to do that.
He knows what time of year it is.
Yeah. All right, to recap, we've got a doubleheader coming up this weekend. Friday night, a playoff doubleheader. Friday night, we'll be in the Queen City of Manchester to see Bedford at Memorial. That's 7 o'clock. We're live on both FNLNH Media and our new partnership as well with FNHS. And we'll have a little bit more information on that over the course of the week. And then Saturday, game number 2, Exeter at Dover. That's a 1 o'clock Seacoast showdown in Dover. We'll be live on the scene there as well, again, in conjunction with the NHIAA and NHFS. Steve, your final thoughts on what was, again, a very informative show with 4 different guests.
Well, I think the leadership of the league has made, and the individual SAUs have done a terrific job in Division I that we kind of really focus on, and I'm sure down below as well. I'm really missing Pinkerton and Makaladi. I love to see Pinkerton in the round, but we understand people have to make decisions based on safety. I think it's been magnificent that there's this many teams still in, and it goes back to a ton of hard work between parents, school system, coaching staff, and the kids themselves being disciplined to play. And if we can just have a couple more successful weeks, I think the quarterfinal matchups, Nick, whoever wins against these matchups right now, I think we're going to have some quarterfinal matchups that are just going to be, you're going to want to be 4 places at once.
A lot of parity in D1 this year.
Sure is.
For sure. Want to thank Rob Sturgis of Manchester Memorial, Dante Lorendi of Nashua North, Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph, and Nick Hammond of Goffstown for joining us here. Our show, as usual, brought to you by Beals Insurance, locations in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Call Steve at 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com. For our director, Ben Beals, my partner, Steve Beals, I'm Nick Anastas saying so long. This has been FNL Rewind presented by Beals Insurance. We will see you Friday night at 7 for Bedford at Memorial. So long, folks.